This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Hope you had a great Canada Day. Welcome to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. It was a wild sports day yesterday. While everyone waved the flag and hopefully got out with the friends and family and celebrated our great nation, NHL GMs doled out about 50 million short of $1 billion yesterday on contracts. Great time to be an NHL player, that's for sure. And the Jets made a couple significant moves, which we will get into. Mario Ferraro and Stuart Skinner coming into the fold. Lots on that, as well as how this Jets roster stands moving forward, and the fact that Connor Hellebuck is still property of the Winnipeg Jets, despite signing a goaltender in Stuart Skinner. We're going to be all over that today. Coming up, Murat is going to join us, Jeff Hamilton as well. Going to talk some World Cup with our old buddy Troy Westwood, get his thoughts on the Bombers too a little bit later on. First off, do want to thank everyone that came out on Tuesday night to the ballpark for our WST patio party with the Winnipeg Goldeyes. Great time, for the most part, a beautiful day. It is impossible for myself, Michael Grajewski, Michael Remis, probably to go together anywhere without a little bit of rain. But it wasn't quite as bad as our first attempt at the Goldeyes a few weeks ago. A little bit of a rain delay there at the end of the second game of the doubleheader. But the Fish got the split. It was just great to see everybody. Thanks to everyone that got a ticket and came out. Great to meet so many new listeners and viewers, and of course, so many of our regulars. There's the pick. And shout out to our guy, Al Broderick, who did a great job at taking a whole bunch. And that's probably a good 60-70% of the crew. There were some people that were out getting food at the time. It was tough to keep everyone together, but man, we had a great spot. It was a lot of fun seeing everybody there. And thanks to our friends at the Goldeyes, the staff, Megan, who was working the bar in our spot. Everyone had everyone seemed to have a great time. We always love doing that, and mostly getting together everyone from our WST community together and making it happen. By the way, you saw Dan Jets fan there in that Manitoba Mosquitoes jersey and hat. I think our group alone probably took care of about half of the Mosquitoes merch that they have in the pro shop. A lot of people are loving that. But anyways, great to see everyone. There's the legend T. Konopali. He made it out as well. It was a great time. So thanks to everyone. I think what we might do is schedule a night where we're going to put something together at Assiniboia Downs in August. So stay tuned to that. And again, make sure you're subscribed up to the newsletter. If you do miss a show or something, you'll get the notes on the events, what we're doing, and when. We'd love to have you come out and enjoy and join the crew. I also want to quickly mention to you folks, CFL gets going tonight. If you haven't put your picks in for the CFL Pick'em over at Coolbet in the Coolbet League, do that before kickoff tonight. There's a lot of people that haven't put their picks in. The first few weeks you get into it, you don't want to miss a week, especially if you've been good getting them in every week. Obviously, there's a $50 prize, but you want to be consistent so you're always stacking points, so you're in the mix for that Grey Cup trip at the end of the year. So get those picks in. We'll talk about it more. Jake will jump on at the end of the program as well. Let me just give a big thanks to our friends at Coolbet and all of our sponsors: Princess Auto, Chud's Power Sports, Clean Line, Plumbing, Heating, and Electrical, of course, Manitoba Battery, Breezy Bend, Aikens Lake, Royal Sports, Boston Pizza, Little Brown Jug, Travel Manitoba, the Goldeyes, Assiniboia Downs, Rollies Transfer, St. Vital Dental Center, And we will get to a why not question of the day for Not Autocorp over at Waverly and McGillivray. Great to see everybody in chat. Hope you all had a great Canada Day. Michael Remis, what's going on? Kind of busy for you. I'm sure you were juggling both kids and the non-stop signings that took place pretty much all day, including a couple significant ones for Winnipeg.
Yeah, it's been, my kids are done school, and the same week it's the draft, free agency, and I just got to tell my wife, sorry, I got to be on my phone all the time here following all these signings, and I still miss some. Where was I? When I got out to Assiniboine Park briefly yesterday, we sent my son off to summer camp for a couple days here, so only got one kid in the house now, keeping track of all these signings, and it was nice to see the Jets make some moves, and nice to see all the other moves around the league. So, I got this one in here. Here, Sadie, you want to come say hi? No, you got to go. You got to go. So we were talking about all the signings. Got to get her out of here. I got to lock the door. But yeah, feeling good here, Huss, on July 2.
Yeah, I guess you guys can play a little zone defense right now instead of the man-to-man that you normally do. While Remis gets the other WST studio kid-free for a few minutes, we'll get to it. Listen, I guess first off, we should start off with the fact that Connor Hellebuyck is still a Winnipeg Jet. And Remis, it was kind of funny being at the game on, with Hammer and with Ken Wiebe, who, are both kind of pumping or, staying connected with their sources throughout. Kevin Weeks needs to be put on suspension or something like that because this tweet took on a life of its own. I feel very bad for Danielle Bain, who I think because of that tweet had to be literally on call down at the rink waiting for a trade to happen to do a stand-up on TSN and couldn't join us at the game. That's on you, Kevin Weeks. But we did hear that maybe something would happen. There was all this speculation that this Buffalo deal, because of trade protection that kicked in for Josh Norris in UPL on July 1st, might get done that night. It didn't. And I think I said to the guys, I know Nick was with us. Nick Lyman was great to have him out as well. That, I was thinking it was maybe 70-30 that Hellebuyck's on the Jets to start the season. Now that they've signed Stuart Skinner, I think it's a clear indication that the team is preparing itself to move in a different direction goaltending-wise. And I think I'd probably pull that down. But if you told me I couldn't go 50-50, because I think it is pretty close 50-50 right now, I think I'm going 51 on he gets traded before training camp, or at least before the beginning of the season, than I do right now. But it's fluid. And, obviously New Jersey is a team that, people had maybe connected to them. But I still think that Buffalo's the most likely landing spot. And I'm not sure how much the July 1st changes with UPL and with Norris change the conversations of Chevy and Yarmo. But I have a feeling that Yarmo and Chevy are going to be having plenty of conversations over the course of the next 6 to 8 weeks to see if they can get something done before the start of the year.
Yeah, I don't know if to be a hockey insider, you have to take some code of conduct to get your hockey insider license. But Kevin Weeks violated that on Friday or whatever day it was. The other day.
It's revoked officially.
My days are so mixed up because of this midday candidate, but let's just go over. On Tuesday, he tweeted out eye emoji and a picture of Markstrom at 10:43 a.m. And then about 20 minutes later, you had the half-head video at 10:49 a.m. saying that he was traded. So on June 30, Tuesday, when you tweet out Hellebuyck, a picture of him, and the eye emoji, people are going to lose their minds, rightfully so. It got 2.6 million views. I don't understand how you can put that out there and then just put your phone down and go silent. So I thought it was offensive to hockey fans and Jets fans, and we'll see if anything comes of it. I do agree with you, though, Huss. The Stuart Skinner signing makes it seem more likely that a Hellebuyck trade is going to happen, but I don't know how many partners are out there. You see a lot of goalies moving around. It seems like you're kind of waiting on this Buffalo deal, But as you said, UPL, has no trade protection kick in, Norris as well. I mean, is it really worth it for them to trade Hellebuck now? I don't know, kind of like the other moves they made with Mario Ferraro. And is Vigo Bjork the new second-line center that they've been looking for years? We'll have to wait and see. But Kevin Weeks putting that out there, that is disappointing.
Yeah, the Samster, Kevin Weeks is dead to us. Winnipeg Puck, Weeks gets a rock tomorrow, not a marble. T. Will, can we get Kevin Weeks on the show just so Remis can kick him off the show? Waiters, Weeks should have to swim in the Red River for punishment. And Snacktoba, Husk, when's the next time you'll be in Target in Fargo? Just planning my social media monitoring. Yeah, we haven't had the pop-up video yet on the Hellebuck deal, but we will do at some point. Anyways, there's lots going on into it. Now, as far as what did happen, knowing that Hellebuck is likely gone, I thought that the 2-year deal on Stuart Skinner was phenomenal. I mean, he's making, I think, less than like Kevin Lankinen this year, Reem. I mean, the fact that this was a UFA deal on the market, done on July 1st, if you had told me the Jets were going to get Stuart Skinner, I would have assumed that it would have been 5, maybe 6, just based on, his tenure, the scarcity of starting goaltenders in the league. And I have to be honest, I've got a lot of optimism for Stuart Skinner as a Jet. Like, I obviously, I do the show in Edmonton every day. And, he's an Edmonton native that became, like, we think that the Jets fan base is toxic when it comes to a player and people can't just get past, Logan Stanley made a mistake and this guy sucks and they're all over him. Edmonton is way worse. And the way that they turned on Skinner, during tough times for him, and really gave him no credit for what he did, which was a lot positive for that team. I think that he probably deserved better. I think they made a terrible trade when they moved him. I mean, to think that they got Tristan Jarry with 2 more years at $5 million on that contract, and had to give Pittsburgh Brett Kulak to get Jarry in along with Skinner was a deal that really hurt them last year. And I think it's still an issue right now going into the offseason. But Skinner gets to come to a place where he's wanted. He'll get to work with Wade Flaherty, who's done an incredible job getting the best out of all of his goaltenders here. And he's got 2 years to sort of reestablish himself as a good 1A, 1B goaltender in the league. Now, we'll see who his partner is this year, or whether he's a backup for a period of time at the start of the year if Hellebuck's back. But to me, the price, the length of the term, the tradability of the contract, if you get into that situation, was a really nice start for the Winnipeg Jets yesterday at an area of need, especially with Eric Comrie going to San Jose.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think if you talk to a lot of Edmonton fans, they'll tell you, hey, it wasn't given much of a chance with the defensive play in front of him. And you look at his experience, he went to back-to-back Stanley Cup finals with Edmonton, and it's unfortunate the way that it ended, getting traded away from your hometown team, but moved on to Pittsburgh and was solid for them. And I think you've seen the history here of the Jets bringing in goalies with potential. They've done it before with another Oilers goalie, Laurent Brossoit, who had the best seasons of his career here, and he signed with some of the Anaheim yesterday. But I think with the Jets goaltending coaching staff, we've seen them take goalies like this and give them a career resurgence. So I like Stuart Skinner. Not a ton of money, as you mentioned, and only 2 years. So I thought that signing was solid, and if he has to be in a 1A, 1B, if Hellebuck were to get traded, he's certainly capable of that. And what's interesting to note in his conference call that he does have the same agent as Connor Hellebuck, Ray Petkow. So I don't know if he's got some extra insight.
Well, and Ray Petkow also is LB's agent, or at least was while he was here. So maybe the Jets just have a deal with Ray saying, hey, you know what? We're going to see what we can do about your client. We'll get your other guy in here, and the deal makes sense. We'll hear from Skinner in just a second. We've got some clips. He met the media yesterday. And then later on yesterday afternoon, Remis, the Jets announced the signing of Mario Ferraro from the San Jose Sharks. And this is a guy, we've spoken about him before in and around trade deadline on this program in the past. Ferraro he's 27 years old right now, was a real workhorse for San Jose. Now, listen, that team, he has been playing on a very bad team up until this year during his entire career. But, man, he was playing, some big minutes up and down the lineup. You put him in on the Jet third pairing on the left side behind Dylan Sandberg, behind Josh Morrissey, on a 3-year deal. It seems like a perfect timeline for a player to be here, to give you some veteran minutes, some solid, competent third pairing play, while Boumedienne, Frey, some of the young defensemen that the Jets have picked, finish up there, whether it be junior or playing overseas, whether it be college, and then get ready to make the switch to pro. I mean, Dom Lucian is a guy that, we talked a lot about with, his player ratings and whatnot. His quote was, shockingly sensible deal for Mario Ferraro. Didn't expect him to get less than Vincent Desharnais and Ryan Shea. And, and he said today, and we'll hear this as well, he said his top priority was signing somewhere he can win, and he sees that here in Winnipeg. Now, I mean, I take all of that with a grain of salt. But it is cool to have a Canadian guy, in on playing in Canada. And listen, I think for the money spent in the term, I think sensible is a great word from Jay Fresh. I think both of these were sensible, good value deals that are not going to hamstring the franchise in any way. And to be honest, depending on what happens with the rest of the roster and where the team is over the next couple of years, could be nice assets at some point later on in the term.
Yeah, well said at that point. And Ferraro noting in his conference call, he played at the Worlds, I think 2020, with Velarde and Perfetti. Those are the only guys that he knew on the team. Stuart Skinner, he's in Calgary working out with a number of Jets who are there, like Josh Morrissey. So I do like the Ferraro signing. Solidifies the third pair, pushes Hayden Fleury down. And with Elias Salamonson back, I think this defense is looking a lot more solid. You remove Shen and Stanley, bring in Ferraro and Salamonson. That's a nice win. Goaltending, backup solidified. They do need a little extra firepower up front. The scoring was a problem last year. Secondary scoring, second line center we talked about. Does Viggo Bjork get an opportunity, or are they looking at bringing someone in? Looking at guys unsigned. Anthony Mantha. I mean, he scored some goals last year for Pittsburgh. He's available. Patrick Laine, that's a guy with history here, Huss. Would there be a reunion there? So still some names. I don't anticipate, the Jets historically, Huss, not very active on free agency. They did sign another depth player, Noah Gregor, as well. But we'll have to see how this shakes out. But I do like what they did here with the defense.
Yeah, Gregor, I believe it's a two-way deal.
Yeah.
And, he's bounced around a few teams. He was with Florida. He was with Ottawa before that. And again, he'll have a guy that he'll be trying to come in and make the team. And, if not, he'll be playing with the Manitoba Moose. Now, you mentioned some of the Jets, that the players that came to the Jets. There were some players that left the Jets and the organization, or maybe some former guys that went to it. We saw Jack Rossovic get a deal in Toronto. How about Jeffrey Viel, former Moose? What did he end up getting, Remo? Was that 3 times 2.5?
Oh, no, Huss. Jeffrey Viel, who had the playoff explosion for Anaheim, he got a 5-year deal at 2.5 with the Tampa Bay Lightning, who also signed John Carlson to a 2-year deal at 8.5. But Jeffrey Viel, who was like couldn't crack the Jets lineup, was a player on the Moose. Went to Anaheim, had this amazing playoff for him, scoring goals. Parlays that into a 5-year deal. I can't believe giving a fourth line guy 5 years, like we saw what happened with Trent Frederick, they did this before with Tanner Jeannot, but I guess they need him. They're going up against the big bad Panthers. And Jeffrey Viel is going to be a huge asset for those battles.
Yeah, there's an arms race in the state of Florida right now, and Florida amped it up. They've added Gudis now.
Yes, Gudis.
That team is going to be, as tough a team for a good team as we've seen, in decades in the NHL. So VL will be probably getting a fighting major every time those two teams play. And I got to say, I feel really good for our old buddy Jeff Murat, who was just an absolute class act when he was here. Incredible member of the Manitoba Moose. Got a cup of coffee with the Winnipeg Jets, goes to LA, played up and down the lineup last year, usually in a fourth line role, but with injuries, he was on the top line when they were here. I think he only scored 3 times, but he got 3 years at 1.85 in Anaheim. So good stuff for him. Now, as far as former Jets that don't have deals right now, I have to say it is interesting that Logan Stanley hasn't signed. I don't think that, he was prioritized below. I think he's probably got a few offers and is going them through. Frank Saravelli on the Fan Morning Show yesterday said that he expects Logan Stanley to get in the $25 million range, 4 to 5 years. Now, we had talked about that during the season when he was playing so well, and many other people thought it was maybe more like a 2-year deal at 2.5 after the playoffs. But it only takes one team. That being said, that deal hasn't come to fruition as of yet. So we'll pay attention to Logan Stanley. And from a Jet perspective, I got to tell you, the other guy that's really intriguing to me is Patrick Laine. And I know we've had this conversation before, but the fact that Patrick does not have a contract right now, I will still make the case, as I have done before when we've talked about this. Things have not gone well for Patrick since he left Winnipeg. The Columbus time, obviously what happened in Montreal. He needs to go to a place where he can be comfortable, where he can get a chance and an opportunity, and he needs to revive his NHL career before it completely flames out. And to me, he had his greatest success here in Winnipeg. The team, the locker room is very different right now. Blake Wheeler's long gone. We know that Bones has come in and changed it. And let's face it, is there a roster right now in the league where he'll have a better chance to potentially get top 6 minutes and have a big role on the power play more than Winnipeg right now? I'm not sure there is. So on a short-term deal that's relatively cheap with some performance bonuses added in, I would love to see the team take another crack at Patrick Laine, and wouldn't that be an amazing story if he could come back to Winnipeg and resuscitate his career with the team that he started with after, frankly, floundering since leaving the Peg a few years ago.
Yeah, we kind of have an eye on all the former Jets. Patrick Laine, his contract intriguing because he didn't play enough games last year, so he could sign a bonus-heavy contract. One player who we had our eye on here, Ville Heinola, became a free agent, signed with the Vegas Golden Knights, going to the dark side, Huss. Looks like he's going to be the 7th defenseman on their depth chart behind Dylan Coghlan, who signed a 2-year deal after his, he had some big performance in the Stanley Cup final. But I'm very curious what's going to happen with him, and Ville getting a shot with Vegas. Jacob Bryson going to Detroit, 1 year, $850K, a little bit here at the end. And how about Luke Schenn continuing his career, 1 year, $2.25 million AAV contract with the Vancouver Canucks as they look to fill out their roster. So, Huss, a lot of names on the move yesterday. Hard to keep track, but we do have a soft spot for all the former Winnipeg Jets. You want to see where they land?
Yeah, no doubt about it. Now, Hammer's going to join us in a few minutes. I'll tell you what, let me give a shout out to our friends at Clean Line Plumbing, Heating, and Electrical for over 40 years, your one-stop shop for residential and commercial heating, electrical, and of course plumbing services. And they have been Winnipeg's most trusted plumbers with over 40 years of fast responses, lasting results, and 24/7 emergency services across all of Winnipeg. You probably don't plan for that emergency call to Cleanline, but when you need them, they are there for you 24/7, 365. Remember the number 204-500-2001 for Cleanline's 24/7 emergency services. If you want more information or would just like to book an appointment with Cleanline Plumbing, Heating, and Electrical, do it online at cleanline.ca. I know a lot of people got outside. A lot of people are starting holidays this week, getting out of the city, which means boat time, ATV time, dirt bike time, RV time. You need batteries for all those, and Manitoba Battery is your local option where you will shop local, get the best prices in town, beating the pants of the big box stores with the best in customer service on batteries for literally everything. Part of the reason why they're such a popular client of and partner of Winnipeg Sports Talk and have done so many things for so many of our listeners, as well as many Manitoba Batteries carried at other great partners like Chud's Power Sports. The bottom line is, when it comes to price and service, there is no beating Manitoba Battery. 2 locations, Logan Avenue, Dover Court Drive, here in the city. And you can also check them out online, and they do deliver batteries anywhere inside the perimeter. Order online at manitobabattery.com. And hey, if you have a move coming up, folks, you know where to go. Rolly's Transfer, the most trusted name in moving in Manitoba. They've been doing it family-owned and operated for over 60 years. Head on over to their website at rollies.com. You can find out all about all their wide variety of services and their history. But in the top right corner, click on Request an Estimate and put in the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies for Winnipeg Sports Talk listeners. Then let them know when and where you're moving, what needs to be moved, and the friendly staff at Rollies will turn it around quickly with the great quote to get you locked in for the white glove treatment and service that they have been famous for, now into their 7th decade. For all your moving needs, make it Rollies, the most trusted name in the game. Find out more today online over at rollies.com. Don't forget, latest edition of CFL 110 is up on the Winnipeg Sports Talk YouTube channel, and my co-host from CFL 110, Jeff Hamilton, joins the program. Hammer, great to have you back on the program, and great to see you on Tuesday night. That was a lot of fun having you out.
Yeah, it was a ton of fun, man. Thanks for the invite. I thought, it's always great to see some of the local community, as I refer to them as people we know through a handle or a code name. So it's always, it's been fun, meeting those people and putting a face to the name and meeting more people and those kind of opportunities. Huss, like, it was, the weather held up there till the very end, but overall, I thought it was really cool to be a part of, and really cool event to put on.
Hey, I got to shout out Stan Scott in the chat. I just mentioned Patrick Laine, and that's something I'll bring up with Jeff as well. He said, "Do you think Laine could really fit in to an Arneal defense-focused lineup?" It's a good question. And the role of Patrick and the buy-in as to the way that the team is playing is certainly that's going to be important. But as we all know, I mean, the second line was not particularly good defensively, and they didn't score last year. So I think there's an argument to be made that, a Laine with his head in the right place, highly motivated, could come in and do something very good for himself long-term, as well as the Winnipeg Jets. But it is a very good question. Stan, thanks a lot for the shot. Listen, before we get to that, Hammer, what's your read of the room? Stuart Skinner's a Winnipeg Jet. I thought the term and value was a great signing for Winnipeg. Same thing with Mario Ferraro. I thought they didn't do a ton, but they made 2 signings that made a lot of sense for Winnipeg. And frankly, I was surprised that the cost wasn't more. The term seems to make sense. Just before we kind of get to what's next, what did you think about what happened July 1?
Yeah, I think like a lot of people, particularly, hockey people I've spoken to, all see them as wins moves, right? I mean, you're taking the moves individually and you're analyzing them and where they fit, right? Obviously, Stuart Skinner raised a lot of eyebrows to a lot of people, owing to, of course, the rumors that have continued to swirl around Connor Hellebuck. But what was it, $3.75 million per season for him? That's a value bet. I mean, I know it comes with a lot of what ifs and certainly some uneasiness, putting it lightly, from his time in Edmonton. And, I think a lot of people, blame Stuart Skinner for losing those final series and often forget, just how strong he was, as we've often heard, against the Dallas Stars in those conference
it's funny
finals,
you bring
right?
that up, Hammer, because I was thinking about this today, and I mean, listen, like I do the show in Edmonton every day. I mean, the amount of people that were on Skinner, the chat, I mean, it was just toxic. It was very similar to the way a lot of Winnipeg fans kind of focused on Logan Stanley for a few years. But Edmonton's way worse. Then they moved on to Darnell Nurse. Well, they got rid of him. But it is important to note that we can say, oh, they got to 2 straight Stanley Cup finals. And in back-to-back years, something that Connor Hellebuck wasn't able to do, Stuart Skinner did twice, and that was be the better goaltender in a 7-game series against Jake Ottinger. Yeah,
and if you're from Winnipeg, you're a Winnipeg Jets fan, that's what you're leading with, right? I mean, that, and again, it's kind of pick your narrative around this guy. I mean, judging by the interviews I've seen from the people, whether it's journalists watching him and covering him or, GMs or hockey people, like, it's very obvious that Stuart Skinner needs a good system in front of him, like most goalies, right? Like, there's not a lot of goalies out there that, you say system be damned and maybe it'll, you'll be fine. Connor Hellebuck might just be that guy. Who knows? He certainly had strong back ends in Winnipeg and not so great back ends in Winnipeg, and we all know the awards that he's racked up. But I think again, speaking to Stuart Skinner, it seems to be one of those things where yeah, again, you need to be good in front of him. If you look at Edmonton, right? I mean, they made it to the Stanley Cup final in back-to-back years. That's an incredible accomplishment. You need everybody on the team to be pulling. But when you looked at some of their, system play, like they were giving up a lot of odd man rushes. They were giving up a lot of transition offense. And when you do that, a lot of goalies are going to get lit up. So, I guess the feeling here with Stuart Skinner is he's certainly a certified starting goaltender. There's no doubt about that. How good can he be in Winnipeg under their system? And then Mario Ferraro is a guy that the Jets have been linked to for years now, right? I mean, this is a guy they tried to get, and again, much like the Stuart Skinner deal, I know he's not a big player. He's on the smaller side of things. However, you can get a lot out of him. That seems to be the scouting report on him. He's been at World Championships in the past. Some people even said he was the best player during that tournament. Obviously, those tournaments are unique in that they're not the Olympics, and different elements are at play when you're out in Europe and whatever, having a good time out there. Some lower players might rise to the crop on an otherwise great roster. So I think he is, those 2 moves in a vacuum, Huss, are solid moves, but in the grand scheme of things, when you look at the overall picture of what's going on and what we'll get to here is the next steps, still don't think you're looking at a roster that is going to contend for a Stanley Cup, and certainly has some holes that need fixing, and a lot of what ifs on that roster, Huss, if it's summing up with that.
Yeah, well, I mean, certainly, and and I would say as it stands right now, the most impressive goaltending tandem in the league, and that obviously could change quite quickly. I just want to play this clip. Rio, can you get number 2 up? This is Stuart Skinner, and obviously his signing comes in the middle of this what is happening with Connor Hellebuck conversation. And Skinner was asked if it was tough to sign in Winnipeg with the uncertainty around Connor Hellebuck's future. Here's what the newest Jet had to say.
Not necessarily harder. I think it's just the place that I really felt that I really wanted to go into. Again, talking about the teammates that are there, the type of culture, how it's managed, ownership, everything like that was really the exciting part for me. Another big part was the goalie coach in Flats and Wade Flaherty. I mean, I've always been a big fan of him and always wanted to work with him. So being able to get the chance is very, very exciting for me. And Yeah, I mean, who knows?
That was actually going to be my follow-up question about Wade Flaherty. What have you kind of heard about his style, and is there anything specific that you can tell us that you are excited about working with him on?
Yeah, well, just looking at track record, I feel like I mean, obviously, he's had some amazing goalies there. No matter who hops in that situation, I feel like it's always very very positive insight from the goalies that I've talked to. I know Combs a little bit. I know Helly just very minimal. I know LB very minimal as well. So just talking to those guys and being part of the goalie world in the NHL, I've only heard amazing things about Wade, how he works with goalies, and the type of culture that Wade that he really brings into the tandem there. So for me, that's just the part that really excites me. Yeah, I'm really excited to get to work with him and really looking forward to it.
The end of the first question, he sort of laughed at the situation, but I mean, I think it's very clear that he's coming in expecting that something is going to happen. Hammer, I know you've been working the phone. I mean, pretty clear where we were at heading into July 1st. How much has changed, if anything, and what's your read of the current situation when it comes to Hellebuck?
Well, first off, I mean, Stuart Skinner and Connor Hellebuyck share the same agent. So if you're trying to find a new home or somewhere to sign, what's the first question you're going to ask if you're Stuart Skinner? Like, it wasn't like he was desperate to go to Winnipeg necessarily. Like, I'm not saying his phone was necessarily ringing off the hook, but if you're going to talk to your agent, you're probably going to want to know what your playing time is. Like, it's great that all those other things he mentions, right? That's the sales pitch, right? Get to work with Wade Flaherty, blah, 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 blah. But all of those things fall behind opportunity. Opportunity is the number one thing, and dollars, right? So he has that's what's kind of unique about this. I'm not saying you want to carry $12 million in goaltenders on your roster, and I don't think the Jets want to either, but you can kind of. Like, it's not like so he's kind of at a friendly price tag, which kind of, doesn't warrant a 1A, 1B. No equation in Winnipeg that is Connor Hellebuyck is going to be sharing any time, but obviously he would have got a good idea of the potential of his opportunity. So that to me speaks to, obviously the Jets working on this. I'm still in the camp, Huss, and I'm not alone in this. I don't think Connor Hellebuyck asked for a trade. I don't think he demanded a trade. Like, I don't think it's while he's being grouped in with these, American players and this group chat from Team USA, I'm not saying that hasn't had a role in this, but I don't think that Connor was the guy who went demanding a trade. I think he was very specific and probably carried, some passion and emotion in his convictions when he talked to the management team in Winnipeg before he took off for the offseason. It was very probably, again, detailed and specific in what he wanted to see. So, there's a difference between wanting to be, encouraging or demanding your management improve your team that you want to win, and going to them and being like, I want out of here. And I'm not saying it doesn't get to the same, situation or the same end result. However, I do think that there's potential that Connor Hellebuyck could be a Winnipeg Jet come, training camp. And so and the reason I feel that, like a lot of people, anyone who's really covered Kevin Cheveldayoff, is he's not one to just kind of balk at pressure. He's not one to have a high profile player, whether they directly ask to leave or you're feeling the writing on the wall is just, is there. Like, he's not going to get bullied into a deal that he doesn't, that he doesn't want to do. And ultimately, I think I think there's a little bit, well, there should be, and I believe there is added pressure on Kevin Cheveldayoff to get this one right. So, especially with Connor Hellebuyck, unfortunately, trades don't get determined, the winners and losers of trades till time and whatever. But this is one of those examples with one of his best players with 5 years left on his deal that he has to win on paper too. So I think that's a big part of this, and that's why I think we continue to see Connor Hellebuyck linked to different teams and various packages come in. It's clear to me that they just obviously don't have what they believe the value is for this trade, and they're not willing to give up somebody who is a big piece of their team and who has 5 years left on their deal. So, I mean, to answer your question, Huss, I mean, he could be traded today, tomorrow, in the near future here, and I think there's a very good chance, even 50-50, that he's he remains a Winnipeg Jet, because that's just the situation the NHL is. That's the situation the goalie market is. And there's always asks and gets, and someone needs to balk at that. Someone needs to panic in those negotiations and, whatever. And I just don't see it being Kevin Cheveldayoff unless we get another one of those deals that we've seen in the past where you sit there and you go, oh my goodness, how could, seemingly backed into a corner, how could he come up and pull another rabbit out of his hat? I think the rabbit in this case, Huss, is a lot more difficult to appear than maybe in previous deals.
Yeah, no, listen, I mean, if you're trading your best player, arguably the best player in the history of your franchise, you better get it right. And, and you can't be forced into doing it for less than you feel the player's worth. And that's why I think something hasn't been done. I will disagree on the trade request. And I mean, it can be, well, maybe he didn't say, I would like to officially request a trade. Maybe it was, get me the hell out of here. Maybe it was, yeah, I wouldn't mind being out of here immediately. Like, call it whatever you want. If he's green lighting a trade to the Buffalo Sabres, put it this way. If he hadn't been very clear of wanting to get out, they are never even entertaining trading Connor Hellebuyck at this point, I don't think. So, I mean, but again, none of that really matters. When a trade happens, we'll find out. I'm sure he'll say something, and listen, I've kind of made my opinion clear. I think there is a lot more to it than just going to a Stanley Cup contender. I think that was clear by the Buffalo green light, and I don't think that if he was going to be traded to the Habs or the Oilers, who I think you could make an argument certainly have Stanley Cup chances and aspirations more than the team here in Winnipeg right now, he would be taking it. But I am with you. Like earlier on yesterday when we were at the ballpark, we were chatting around, I was thinking that it was maybe more like 70% that Hellebuyck would be with the team at the start of the year. I will admit that with the Stuart Skinner signing, I think that number gets lower, and I'm sort of with you, like right around a 50-50, and I guess if you made me go 49-51, I think I'll still go towards the trade side of things now. But I do think it's the bottom line is it's not getting done until the Jets' price gets met, and Jarmo Kekalainen right now hasn't done that. We'll see whether situations change around the league or whether this is a long, drawn-out dance, or in the next couple of weeks, do they come together and make something happen that they feel works on both sides? It would be interesting to start the season with Hellebuyck and with Skinner here, because I think it's pretty clear that Stuart Skinner and his agent, Ray Petka, who, as you mentioned, happens to be Hellebuyck's agent, probably is not as expecting as crowded a goalie room as well. And then I guess if Hellebuyck is dealt, the question is, who else? Are you getting a goalie back in that deal? I think it's logical that probably would be the case, even just for salary cap situations, depending on where you're going. So that will be the story that we look for going forward. But the Ferraro one, just moving off of goaltending, because it's so easy to kind of take up the entire conversation. Ferraro's a really interesting ad. And, when you look at some of the numbers that were put up by other guys signing, I thought the 3-year, $12 million deal was, again, a term that the length of the term makes a lot of sense because of some of the young players that the Winnipeg Jets have. It's far less the Jets had kind of been rolling out guys that were $1 million hopes on the third pairing for a long time. This guy is far from that, and I think he will benefit from going to a much better organization. I shouldn't say organization, like much better situation on the blue line with the team. Like, we can talk about the lack of scoring. That's an issue for Winnipeg, but defensively, this team more often than not has been pretty good. And to come in and have a player like that on your third pairing, it seemed to be exactly what Winnipeg needed, and to me, money well spent and very much worth the cost.
Yeah, puck moving defenseman, as you mentioned. I talked about not your biggest guy, but was averaging 21 minutes a night last year, Huss. For the Sharks. So that's an impressive stat line. Probably won't be logging that. So you got to wonder, what he could do with less minutes. Penalty killer. Those things matter. You need to be versatile, right? So I think, at the end of the day, it's a good pickup. I think for a lot of people, it eliminates the potential of Logan Stanley being signed here. So to me, it's, I think you're right. I think there's been a lot of like hoping and wishing maybe in the bottom of your defensive group. This does add a bit more stability for sure. And while he's being penciled in as a third pairing defenseman, we all know injuries happen throughout the year, and it's better to have a guy that could take on that role, understanding how many minutes he was logging last year if he needs to move up and down the lineup depending on injuries, right? So I think, yeah, I mean, when you look at that pick, I don't know how if you're unhappy with the overall team, I can understand it and the makeup of it for this year, what it's looking like right now. But that's definitely a signing that I wouldn't, put in the bad pile. I think that's a good piece of business. And talking to the people I have around the league, they didn't think they thought he was going to get more than that, and not significantly more necessarily, but to want to come to Winnipeg. And, I know everybody is going to say, anyone who signs with any team is going to talk about that wanting to be their team and, the team's chances of winning and all that. It seemed pretty genuine in Mario's voice when he talked about why he wanted to choose Winnipeg. So, all those things check out. Now, need to get what we've seen from him and probably a bit better here, that if the Winnipeg Jets want to be in the position that they hope to be in, come spring.
What do you think? What do you think the Stan contract looks like when he signs?
I've obviously seen the projections, Huss. Like I just, I obviously saw his year last year, and it was really cool to see him light the lamp the way he did. To me, I think, he kind of, I don't know how I would express it, like exposed himself. Maybe, I don't know. Like, obviously the Buffalo Sabres picked him up to be a part of their playoff run, to be a big body, and gave up, draft capital for him, and doesn't seem to be any interest to bring him back. And so I don't know. Like, I wish Logan the best. I hope he gets the contract he wants, but I don't know. I guess I just haven't seen enough, to suggest that, this is the guy that I want to give some legacy contract to, even if it does come in the $5 million a year, range. Like, to me, that's, again, I wish him all the best, but if I'm a GM, I don't know if I'm, from what I've seen, and I'm not a GM for a reason, I don't think I would be, opening the bank to lean on this guy to be anything more than my third.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, to hear, like, I thought that the hopes of like $5 billion for 5 years were sort of gone after the playoffs, but I always say it only takes one on July 1st. Mm-hmm. The fact that he hasn't signed on July 1st, though,
given this class too,
to me, given this class, I think, like, unless has 4 or 5 teams that are all like right around the same one and he's deciding on it. I did think long and hard about Tampa. Now, I think Tampa, especially now with the Carlson signing, probably doesn't have the cap room to give him what he wants. But I think, like, that we talk about this arms race when it comes to toughness with Florida. That's the sort of place that I could see him fitting in, but I'm not sure whether they've got the money to do it. But anyways, that'll be interesting.
Go back to the coach that never play you.
Yeah, no doubt. Not much still out there, though, when it comes to the blue line. Like Grzelcyk, Goodbranson, Hamonic, Klingberg, Leddy. Colin Miller signed over in overseas, and obviously he was with the club. Jeff Petrie, Mike Riley. But yeah, and then Stan. So not a lot out there. Hey, just quickly before we run, thoughts on this Bomber game on Sunday night against the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and we got into it quite a bit on CFL 110 as well as the stories from around the league. Bombers are staring 1-3 in the face right now, and this start outside of the BC Lions, everyone else in the West has had pretty nice starts. We could see Calgary get another win. Saskatchewan's favored. Edmonton or BC will win this week. How important is it for the Bombers to get this right this week before being in a similar situation to where they were last year and playing catch-up for the rest of the year?
There's a lot of different answers to that. Obviously, the Bombers aren't facing a must-win situation in its traditional sense. You could add that moniker to it if you wanted to, because the West Division is a difficult division. 1-4. Yeah, we can go back to the old BC Lions of 2011 and talk about how you can start 0-5 or 0-6, whatever they were, and can win a Grey Cup. But the fact of the matter is, it's important because you want to get those good feelings in your locker room, right? You want to, like, that's the thing about football that is so interesting to me is, like, unlike hockey where, or baseball or basketball or whatever, where you have, 80 plus game seasons and whatnot, like you can kind of turn the page. You can just kind of, like you got a game the next day or 2 nights away. It's easy to kind of refocus and whatever. In football, you put all the work in, and it's a ton of work. You put tons of work in scouting your opponent, trying to find whatever advantage you can have. Obviously watching tape of your previous games, their previous tape of the year. Like it's an extensive process, and it's a grind. And when you put in the work all week, you expect to win. And when you don't win, of course, it's painful like any sport, any professional athlete, but it's a bit different with football because you just put all that work in and you got to wait another week. If you don't have a bye week coming up to get back on the field and make things right. And you have to go back to work the next day. And what's worse is after a loss, win or lose, you got to go through the tape. But after a loss, you got to go through that tape again. And it's just, it just kind of compounds with the mood. And, Winnipeg, obviously last year was last year, but, they've had issues, they've had consistency for years where the good feelings are always there. And you can stomach, even difficult losses here. You can watch the tape with a critical eye and not feel the spotlight sweating on you. That doesn't happen when you only have, when you're 1-3 and you're facing off to be 1-4 here, right? And so while it's not in, the most important thing, it is for them for sure, and they'll tell you that it's not the most important thing that they get a victory this weekend, but you got to get a victory soon. And so again, to get those good feelings, to take some of that pressure off you, the BC Lions are feeling that for sure. The Bombers aren't much better off. So you need to kind of, again, get back into those good feelings of wins, stacking up good days. And those days are harder to stack when you're losing games. And when you're going into Hamilton, facing a Tiger Cats team that's that's coming off a bye week, that's playing really good football this year, you're going to be in tough. But at the same time, we've seen it already in this year. Anyone can beat anybody. And I'm including the Ottawas and the BCs and, Winnipeg here. Like, it's the CFL, and different teams line up better against different opponents and whatever, right? So, this is just, again, it's not a must-win, Huss, but it's a must-win on the inside for the players because they know how crappy it is to fall behind in a season. Because, again, we were talking about this before on CFL 110. Again, with the weekly games, like you could be 1-4, it's going to take you a month at least to get back to 500. And that's a month of that grind and putting in all the right work and having things work out for you. So football's a really emotional, roller coaster type of game. And for that reason alone, I think this is obviously a really important game to the Bombers, and one, of course, they're going to want to win to get back into those feelings.
Hammer, I know this is weird. It's Thursday. It feels like Monday, but we do have a weekend coming up. Good luck on the seas if you decide to set sail Saturday morning. And I will look forward to chopping it up with you again early next week on CFL 110. Have a great one, Bow.
Yeah, always a pleasure, my friend. Go listen to that if you haven't seen it. We're always chopping it up. We love doing it. I'll leave you on this one. What's up with Patrick Laine, my man? Like, I know he started with it. Let's see if he can come back to Winnipeg. I know that, the Jets need goals and whatever. I also heard some rumbling, too, that Finland wasn't out of the equation for him. So let's, I've been saying this, that I think that's a perfect marriage. I don't know if Patrick Laine is going to get the opportunity anywhere else that he could potentially get in Winnipeg. So let's just wait and see. But I do think the moves have to continue to come, Huss, because, while this group has some, obviously a handful of solid players and some foundation here, I think you want to compete with some of those other teams, including some in your own division, we're going to want to see a couple more moves here.
Yeah, well, and listen, I think it would be really sad if he ended up just going to Finland. Listen, do I have a soft spot for the guy? Absolutely. Some of my best memories as a Jet fan in the 15 years were those first couple years. He scored 80 goals as a freaking teenager for this team. We know that he can do it. Would love to see that at least be exhausted before, moving away from the National Hockey League. We'll be all over it, pal. You take it easy. Have a great one.
Yeah, you guys too. Take care. Talk to you next week.
There's Jeff. There's Jeff Hamilton. Hey, Murat's going to join us in just a minute. Remo, we played that first clip from Skinner. If you can, fire up number 4 here for a minute. This is just a little bit more from Skinner. And again, Hammer mentioned the connection in agents. Here's Skinner asked on how much info he got on the Helly situation before signing here in Winnipeg.
Yeah, to be honest, it wasn't too much of a conversation because we don't know too much. It's obviously there's rumors out there, and as far as my experience, rumors are just rumors until something happens. So to be honest, that wasn't too much of a discussion. And as of right now, me and Helly are teammates, which is so exciting. I mean, he's the best goalie in the world, so it's a great opportunity for me. And I think again, with the thought process of growing my game and just becoming a better goalie, in the type of culture that Winnipeg brings, is it's extremely exciting.
All right, there is Stuart Skinner. Murat will pop on in a few minutes. I do want to mention great show yesterday at Princess Auto Stadium. Really cool event that Princess Auto and the Bombers put on Canada Day every year. Lots of fireworks in the city, which was nice to see again on our nation's birthday. Of course, Princess Auto Stadium will be the place to be next Friday when the Bombers take on the Toronto Argonauts. And right now, the place to be is the brand new flagship store of Princess Auto, 500 Panet Road. Unlike anything the city has seen before, they've made it bigger. They have made it better. They've added a restaurant. They've added the brewery where you can have a beer and walk around if you want. Ice cream for the kids. It's free. You can try out all the stuff. And we always say Princess Auto is where you'll find all the tools and equipment you need to complete the projects on your list or start something new. You can even screw around with them there and try them out for yourselves. PrincessAuto.com. And, of course, check out the new flagship store today, 500 Panet Road. We're well into summer. It is officially July, everybody, and that means it's time to get out and make the most of Manitoba summer, and there's no place you'll be able to do that better than with our friends at Chud's Power Sports, Manitoba's Power Sports Superstore for over 80 years. The Derminator and the gang had a day off yesterday, but they are back, and there are incredible deals right now on new and used vehicles with incredible financing options when it comes to dirt bikes, motorcycles, ATVs, side-by-sides, golf carts, boats, outboard motors, RVs, everything to take your summer to the next level is waiting for you at Chud's Power Sports. So check them out online at chudspowersports.com. You're also going to want to click on the True North Parts link for amazing deals on clearance gear and accessories. But the other thing that separates Chud's is the experience of all of their staff there. Well over 140 years with the dealership, and that's why they're so trusted as they are. Thinking about getting in or an upgrade in the power sports game, Gimli, Highway 8 and 231, our friends at Chud's Power Sports. Check them out online today at chudspowersports.com. Big shout out to Dr. Terry and the gang at St. Vital Dental Center. I know the kids are out of school. You might be doing some holidays. If you want to take care of all those dental needs, you can do it with one trip to St. Vital Dental Center. Really, for the whole family. They've been serving generations of Winnipeggers for years and can handle clients from 6 months to 99 plus with a full array of dental services, from cleanings and checkups to things like dental implants. St. Vital Dental Center does it all. And they do it at a beautiful new facility at 167 St. Anne's with convenient free parking right behind the building. For all your dental needs, holler at our pal Dr. Terry and his great staff at St. Vital Dental Center. Make an appointment today online at stvitalddental.ca. And man, I feel like I've been living at Boston Pizza for the last couple of weeks with the World Cup on. They've been doing it right, though. All the games on this big screens with big sound, awesome specials throughout it. And man, we got a good one tonight. Portugal and Croatia at 6 o'clock tonight. We'll talk about that coming up with Murat, but I would suggest, or with Troy Westwood, but I would suggest make your reservation now at your local Boston Pizza for Saturday. I know many of them are filling up right now, because the biggest game in the history of our men's program is on Saturday at noon against the Moroccans. So BP will be the place to be. Make your rezo at your local Boston Pizza today. All right, let's bring in our good friend Murat from The Athletic after a busy July 1st. Murat, what's going on? A belated happy Canada Day to you. How are you, my friend?
Yeah, happy Canada Day. Doing well. Just got back from Dev Camp today. It's been a busy week. Lots has happened. Some notable things have not happened. So it's definitely an all eyes on the Winnipeg Jets sort of feeling around this place.
Hey, just before we talk about the big picture and the signings and everything, how's Vigo looked?
Let me tell you my favorite thing, and there's a lot of good things that I've seen from Vigo at development camp so far. There was a scrimmage today where I'm gonna say he scored 3 straight goals in a little 3-on-3 small area ice competition. He has more finish in tight spaces than I anticipated, especially playing with the long stick. It's like, where's the leverage coming from? How's he meant to figure that out? So that was impressive. But my absolute favorite was just a battle drill that they had set up where 2 lines of guys were going to compete with each other from opposite ends of the ice. It starts with a race to a puck that's in the middle of the ice. And Vigo wasn't at the front of his line. He was second. So the guy in front of him is about to go start the race in the middle of the ice based on the coach's whistle. And Bjork pushes him with this stick, giving him a little bit of extra boost. For me, it was 100%. I'm here to win. Whatever is going on, I'm here to have fun, but I'm here to win in every possible situation. And with his teammate as well, I laughed out loud. I thought it was cheeky, and I think it's just a little bit characterizing of this hyper-competitive Vigo Bjork.
He is. There's a lot of people really excited for him. I'll say that. And there, you know what, Remo, while I do this read, if you can grab the clip that Connor posted, I want to show that to some people and we can quickly talk about that. But I do want to mention that this segment is brought to you by your Prairie Toyota dealers in the Toyota Tacoma with the standard I-Force engine boasting an impressive towing capacity of up to 6,400 pounds. It's the most powerful Tacoma ever. So whether you're hauling gear to the rink or heading to an away game, you can tackle it with ease. And don't forget the available panoramic multi-terrain view monitor gives you a live underfloor view to navigate even the toughest terrain. You can experience power, capability, and convenience with the Toyota Tacoma. And right now, you can lease a 26 Tacoma from $110 weekly at 5.69% APR for 60 months with $70.99 down. It's time to Toyota at your local Prairie Toyota dealers. Murat, let me just play this for people. You probably saw this, but this might have been the drill you were talking about. This is Vigo, and I think from the number, I think this might be Colby Barlow that he's going up against. But the tenacity of the checking and the fight in this drill is absolutely wild. Remo, I don't know if you want to expand it or something so people can see this a bit better, if that's possible. But he has, and again, we heard it all from the scouts and from Kevin Cheveldayoff. He's short, but he's not small. Man, he has an element in these battles that I don't think if you just saw him without knowing and playing that he would have that club in his bag.
100%. And so that video taken by one Connor Rabchak, it was him, Liz, and myself sitting in the corner, or standing in the corner, I should say, watching that all go down. And we were talking about it. Let's just say that was an eye-popping, noticeable moment. Colby Barlow looks quick out there, looks great. And Vigo put him in his pocket, absolutely in his pocket for that one-on-one battle drill. Got respect from Barlow afterwards as well. And it's just, it's staying close, it's staying tight, it's using his long stick and reach to shut down some of Barlow's options. But I also think in those situations, he's constantly making the assessment of what his opponent's options are. When might he turn? What moves might he have? And I think the sort of computer, the play reading, what could happen next computer for Vigo at a high level. I think his anticipation is great, and I think it helps him in situations like that. obviously it's not an NHL game that's happening out there. It's different. It's depth camp, all that sort of stuff. But you can still see a hockey IQ, and you can still see all kinds of battle in him.
This is the first of many conversations of Mr. Bjork I know that we're going to be having now that he is a Winnipeg Jet. Just before we get to the rest of the topics around the team, any other observations from development camp? I mean, I know all eyes on Bjork, but Kevin He's turning pro, Kieran Walton. I mean, there's a lot of intriguing players. Boumedien's there. Anyone else catch your eye, or you think maybe has done themselves a solid with the way that they've showed out?
Well, you've just named three of the players who I would tell you caught my eye, and it's impossible to ignore Kevin He with his just tenacity and his speed. I think he's got a little bit bigger since last year. Kieran Walton, it's hard to imagine him getting bigger at 6'6" or 6'5" or whatever it is, but his hands are still there. Boumedien, the skill on him, and I think he's grown as well. I just talked to him. I had a little one-on-one with him. I will spoil my own story yet to be written, but Boumedien said to me, there are those among us who call him the perfect human. And guess who he was talking about there, Huss? That was Viggo Bjork. So like the hype in and amongst them, and obviously they're buds. They've known each other for a long time and all that. It is a treat to see. It's maybe like the Swedish version of, and knock on wood if you're a Jets fan, I'm sure you all are if you're listening, knock on wood, but it reminds me almost of the McGroarty and Barlow buddy cop situation from a few years back as well. Just the love that they have for each other. So those are some guys who I would definitely point at. And lastly, I just want to give a shout out to Owen Martin, who was out there battling hard as well. Had a great year in the Dub, especially in the playoffs.
So let's get to yesterday. I mean, I said it off the top of the show. I mean, usually July 1st, we're paying attention, but we don't expect big moves from the Jets. I'll be honest. I think you go down the entire list of signings from yesterday, and I would put the Skinner and Ferraro deals right up near the top with fit, with need, as well as the dollars in term that were signed. I mean, I have a hard time picking apart either of these, especially considering the needs of Winnipeg right now. And that's not usually a July 1st or July 2nd take around Winnipeg.
Yeah, it's rare. Like, it is so rare. The most impactful UFA Winnipeg ever signed was Matthew Perreault, and he went and scored, I think it was 41 points in 62 games in 2014-15. Jonathan Taves with the bonuses last year, the most expensive UFA Winnipeg ever signed. I think that added up to about 4.75. Maybe it was 4.5. I can't remember. But these are not big numbers. These are not like the sorts of stories that make Winnipeg a big game UFA player. And I agree with you. In terms, if you only look at what Winnipeg got done yesterday, Stuart Skinner is at the perfect level of ability and cap hit and term to fit as the 1A, as a timeshare, in like a weird, surprising scenario where Hellebuck is still here next season. He's cheap enough, Skinner is, to play with him as well, if for some reason that happens, and just have perhaps the best tandem in the NHL, upgrade from Eric Comrie last year. If he's the 1A guy, you're good enough that way as well. It gives Winnipeg flexibility to bring back roster players, or skaters, I should say, as opposed to a goalie in the Hellebuck deal, if and when that happens. Like that tier, the quality of player, the price point paid, it just gives them so much flexibility, and it's smart for Winnipeg. So well done on them to lock him up. Mario Ferraro as well. Now he had a Zoom this morning, excited to play in a Canadian market. Former gold medalist with Team Canada's World Championships team with Gabriel Velarde and Cole Perfetti back in 2021. He has been kind of underwater playing for the Sharks on a team that really hasn't been deep for so many years. But if you've got him on your third pair, it's a bit of almost a luxury. At the bare minimum, he should be able to handle that job, plus PK duties, shot blocking, all of that sort of stuff. And they got him for a totally reasonable price. Could be less, perhaps, than what Logan Stanley ultimately gets. We'll see about that. I think Winnipeg signed players that fill their needs, that give them flexibility, opportunity moving forward, and they did it for prices that make a lot of sense, which is a shock given how high the cap is going and will continue to be going.
By the way, shout out to our guy Tico Napoli. It was great to see him on Tuesday. Hopefully, Vigo's compete is contagious off the HSC. Enjoy your weekend and all go blue. The fit of Ferraro, it really clear. And I mean, it's a little bit more than they've spent. It seemed like in the past, the Jets had a bunch of $1 million guys that were, who was going to be in, okay, he's playing, they won, he's going to be back in it. You obviously had a Stanley. Billy got passed by Hayden Fleury. This kind of takes a lot of the questions out of who's on the third pairing with a solid guy on the left side. And I mean, I think if you slot it out with Morrissey, Sandberg, and Ferraro, I mean, you could argue that at least the left side of the blue line is as good as it's been in a long time, Murat. I guess the question that we'll be looking at is, how do things shake out on the right side, and if there are any more. But the other thing I love about the Ferraro deal, and you just mentioned Sacha Boumedienne, is that the 3 years it gives you some cost certainty over that 3 years. If it takes him 3 years to crack it, no problem. If it's 2, I think you've got a very movable contract in 2 years, what'll be a very affordable price for a guy that'll only be 29. Like, there's a lot of things that make sense about it, but also the tradability later down of it. If you all of a sudden have him passed by, a young player that you've got a lot in, makes a lot of sense, and that had been hard to come by for the Jets over recent years.
Yeah, I'm a little skeptical that they are the team that signs guys and trades them a couple years later. Like, I tend to think they hold on to those that choose them. But your point is excellent. As a player that fills a need right now, yes. As a player that if something changes and just young players have come in and stolen jobs or what have you, well, you can keep them on your third pair if you want. That's pretty cheap to have them there. And you can also move them for picks or help in other situations as well, especially given his age. It's also part of a theme, right? I mean, relatively young players, just to be in their 20s at all for Winnipeg. So not only that, and Stuart Skinner, I think, is 27 years old. They're taking steps in a direction that makes an awful lot of sense for them. And whereas a couple years ago, you might get a Hayden Fleury at that age group or in that group where it's a pleasant surprise that he's made your team. And then, okay, guys have gotten hurt and Fleury looks good for a little bit on that top 4, but then it's clear that that's just not the level for him. Well, Mario Ferraro has done that and had a little bit more success. And at that third pairing level, there's no surprises about it. He should be able to handle that job and do a great job of it, covered off by Morrissey and Sandberg as he'll be. So just a lot to like about what the fit is projected to be.
Murat, there wasn't much on the free agent market for big-time players, to be honest. I think we all thought that if this top 6 was going to be added to, it probably was going to come through trade. The logical trade is the expected Hellebuck deal at some point to move in. But I have to note that Patrick Laine didn't sign on July 1st, and he is still an RFA or an unrestricted free agent. Do you think it makes sense for the team, Laine, or both to have another crack here? The power play could certainly use it. I think you could argue that the realistic possibility for playing time in the top 6 is as good in Winnipeg as it is anywhere else. Where is this a pipe dream of me and some former Laine, big-time Laine fans, or is there merit to potentially getting this guy back and giving him a shot to resuscitate his career in the spot that he had his greatest success?
For me, it's a situation where the story is likely to be superior to the impact and fit. I don't know what Patrick Laine's priority is at the moment or the degree to which the Winnipeg Jets are actually interested in him, but I've not gotten the sense in my time that a return to Winnipeg is the 1A plan in that situation. In terms of his impact, Montreal was creative in terms of limiting him at 5-on-5 and giving him power play minutes. And certainly he had a pair, I think, of point per game seasons in Columbus. the guy can shoot. The guy can still play a certain amount of hockey. And you're right, that second line, which Winnipeg, if it doesn't change how it's strategizing, it's almost always a secondary scoring line, right? Scheifele's number one, Lowry's number two, but it's kind of like a checking line. And then there's a secondary scoring line where other players like a Cole Perfetti would go or Nikolai Ehlers used to go. Well, Patrick Laine can probably handle that. Like, that's probably a situation where he can play. Give him those power play minutes. It does make conceptual sense, and yet I struggle to see it. I would be amused, and I would be kind of nonplussed as to how game-changing it was for the Winnipeg Jets.
Well, let's go to something that is, I think, been more expected, and that's a Hellebuck deal. It didn't happen before July 1st. We're now on July 2nd. Has that changed your thoughts on how this whole saga comes to an end? What are you hearing? And if we do get to a trade, I mean, will the Jets get help in that top six if he's no longer a Winnipeg Jet?
Well, they sort of have to. That's the number one hole with a bullet is, another top six forward, ideally two more top six forwards with respect to Bjork, who I think is going to be a wonderful NHL player someday. If you're penciling him in as the 2C now and expecting him to be a game changer, that's just ambitious. It's just a little ambitious. So, Kay, you've talked about needing help on defense, but your left side is locked. On your right side, you probably would ideally have the healthy veteran version of Salomonson, and then you'd be like, okay, this is a real strength here. But there's some challenges there, and then Pionk and DeMello in the future would be second and third pair as opposed to Salomonson, who would take over from number one. But you're probably not looking at that as like a 5-alarm fire. It's that 2C, it's that top six impact forward, a play driver to some degree, somebody who can play against top competition and have success. That's it, that's all. And if you're trading Connor Hellebuck and not getting back a really good bet at that, then I mean, I struggle to imagine how else that shakes out. I know Carolina and Nikishin, sure. I don't think that's a great return. So I'm not sure. And then in terms of like just the latest that I've heard, and certainly I know Darren Dreger or Elliot Friedman or Pierre LeBrun or what have you, but I did hear of a lot of heat last week, especially before the first round of the draft. There were some times where I thought, hey, this thing's going to happen. And I haven't felt that way at any point this week. So I'm not sure where they go from here and who emerges as the ultimate buyer.
Do you think it's more likely that Hellebuck is a Jet on October 1st or is a member of another team?
How close to 50-50 can I go here? I still think he gets moved. Like, the long term of it all, certainly on a long enough timeline, he's not a Jet in my mind. Like, if you've reached the on again, off again portion of your relationship, I don't believe in you to go the distance. And you can't be the Winnipeg Jets beholden every summer to Hellebuck's judgment of whether you're a contender or not. That's just kind of untenable, in my opinion. I think if teams were lining up to give their grade A offers, we may have seen a move by now. Again, I think it's more likely, but I make no promises that he does end up getting moved. If not then is it the trade deadline? Is it next year at this time when he has a 10-team approved list instead of a full no movement? I can't peg the moment. I can't peg the team, but I can't imagine it's a long-term relationship here.
In your opinion, because again, there's, I guess, differing views as to why the trade request, the non-request, the suggestion, however you want to parse it, was delivered. But let's say they're not able to get a deal done and they say, hell, you're going to have to come back and we'll see what we can do. And let's see the team has an amazing start to the season. Like, they start off, I mean, maybe not 15-1, but, through 15 games, the team's 11-4, something like that. And they're very competitive. The vibes are good around the team. Do you think that changes anything?
I mean, it could encourage at least one more playoff attempt in Winnipeg. I think so. Like, again, I'm not on the inside of Connor Hellebuck's personal innermost thoughts on this. But, just thinking from the possibility that Winnipeg doesn't get a good deal, Is Hellebuck going to hold out? Is he going to be that guy? I don't necessarily anticipate that. So in the background of it, a team with Hellebuck and Skinner in net, and with the expected regression positively of Lowry being healthy, having a little bit more pop in his step this season, Sandberg as well, health, that Neil Pionk needing desperately to have a better season than he did last year. The power play fell off in a big way last year. Like, there are some gentle positive regressions that you might guess come Winnipeg's way. They're a good enough team to make the playoffs if things go well, not guaranteeing it, but they're a good enough team to make the playoffs, and they're a good enough team that if everything happened for them, they could go 11-4. So why not, right? Like, I don't think it's beyond the realm of possibility. What you just said, it's tough to read, and it's tough to guarantee any outcome.
I mean, I just think back to where we were where the Jets were as a team and the conversations around them going into Rick Bowness, where I would have said that Scheifele was 99.9% gone and Hellebuck was for sure going to have to be moved because of the next contract. And then after that first year with Bones, we get a double extension. I mean, it is important to note that, I guess things can change, and a lot of it will have to do with how things are going with the club. That being said, I think there's a lot more to this, and I do think that, with everything happened at the Olympics and his profile in the United States, that it's most likely that at some point he'll get there. I guess the big question is when will that happen and where will he end up? So what's next? I mean, do you think the focus is still going to be on this Hellebuck deal and trying to improve the top six, or is there other things that, may be able to happen in this next tier, which is certainly a secondary tier of an already pretty weak free agent class, that might be in the job for Kevin Cheveldayoff? Or is our more focus on watching what's happening in development camp and seeing which of the players that the Winnipeg Jets have right now might be able to show up in September, put a push forward, and maybe earn that opportunity to be Jets at the start of the year and beyond?
I think a lot of what comes next depends on the perspective that Winnipeg is taking in what I want to call some bigger picture areas. Like the Winnipeg Jets last year, when they had no secondary scoring to speak of, picked some bad habits up. They relied on one line to score all of the goals, and they gave some back along the way while they were scoring all of the goals. The team defense, because the team got so slow and wasn't spending oodles of time in the other end of the rink, it suffered as well. And you had some pretty bad transition defense, top line included. You had bad in-zone defense because Winnipeg was so slow in transition, the other teams were ending up a step ahead of Winnipeg in Winnipeg's zone, and that became a problem. And it's like, if you can mitigate those through being a faster team, not having the Taves and Nyquists and Pearsons, et cetera, if you can mitigate those through higher standards held by the coaching staff, if they're willing to look at alternate lineups as well and things like this, I can imagine the Winnipeg Jets having success to the degree of making the playoffs as they're built right now. Like, I think that some of the answers are in the room. The question is taking that next step and actually trying to feel like not only are you a playoff possibility, but you're a playoff lock. Maybe even if the season goes your way, you add at the deadline, maybe even a contender all over again. That takes so much going right, and it does take a second line upgrade. And so if it's not Hellebuck, and I can't shake Carolina for Hellebuck, but I can't figure out what Winnipeg would be getting back. So, where's the flexibility there? Are there other options available? I've heard some talk of Anthony Mantha. He is a finisher. He's not going to help your flow of play too much. There's some strengths and weaknesses to a player like that. It's hard to imagine them getting to reasonable success without a big upgrade. And I honestly, I hold Braden Yager's work ethic in such esteem. I hold Viggo Bjork's potential in such esteem. I'm learning so much that I like about him as a professional. But I think the answer for that second line has to either come from outside the organization, a brand new approach to how the organization handles players, or just the acceptance that that's not going to be an area of strength this particular season.
Murat, great stuff. So is something coming up on the young Swedes in the Athletic that we can look forward to?
Look, I'm not promising you when. I'm not promising you who's going to get talked to, how, or what have you. But yes, I've had some conversations that I've really enjoyed. And at some point, after I've taken some Swedish time with it, it will go up, and I hope people will enjoy it.
Looking forward to it and all of your coverage at The Athletic. Have yourself a great weekend coming up after Canada Day yesterday, my friend. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you, and go Canada, go.
Yes, let's go. We're gonna talk a little World Cup with a good friend of the program in just a minute. Hey, speaking of World Cup, get your rezos in for BP wherever you are going to be getting together with your friends Saturday at noon for the round of 16 match. And hey, if you haven't already got your red, get on down to Royal Sports, your World Cup headquarters. They got it all at Royal Sports. Tons of different Canada gear. Those really cool warm-up jackets that the team wears, they've got those. And not just Canada, a whole bunch of our rival nations competing for the World Cup trophy. So get on down to Royal right there. They've got the... I can't remember what they name the ball every year for the World Cup. They've got a bunch of those there. If you want to get out and play with it. And of course, soccer, softball, baseball, tons of bikes, e-bikes there. Royal Sports, your World Cup headquarters, 750 Pembina Highway. You can also follow them on Instagram at Royal Sports Winnipeg for the latest merchandise drops and sale information. Again, it was a great time at the Goldeye game with everybody on Monday. Thanks to everyone that came out. Nice to see the Fish after not a great start to the doubleheader come back with the win. They're hitting the road, though. Next weekend, Friday night, is boy band night. Westy's going to be there for that for sure. And fireworks. Saturday is the Saturday night happy hour game, and Sunday Family Fun Day, July 10, 11, and 12. Next Goldeyes action at home at the ballpark. No Assiniboia Downs tonight, but coming up next week, they'll have Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, the 13th, 14th, 15th. Monday, they've got those great concession deals for Monday Madness, and July 13th is the Wiener Dogs coming next. Wiener Dog racing. I'm not sure whether we can bet on it, but it certainly will be entertaining to be at. And listen, just before we bring in Westy, this is a great time to get out and see our beautiful province. If you are planning your next adventure, start with Travel Manitoba. Whether you're searching for road trip inspiration, hidden gems, or the latest festivals and events, everything you need is waiting at travelmanitoba.com. If you're looking for ideas on the go, follow along on social media at Travel Manitoba for real-time inspiration, local tips, and can't-miss experiences from across the province. And if you prefer a personal touch, stop by the Visitor Information Center at the Forks in Winnipeg. You know, when I think of Adidas, I think of Lionel Messi. I think of Patrick Mahomes. And I think of Troy Westwood, who joins us in a beautiful three-stripe track jacket ready for World Cup action. Westy, how are you, my friend? Hope all is well on Planet Westwood, as I used to refer to it back in the TSN days.
I tell you what, brother, these days I am from here forward measuring my life with how many World Cups I got left in me. This is the closest thing to heaven that there is. When I was a youngster, this would be our really only exposure to the stars. Right now it's way different, right? You can watch all the games of the EPL, the league all the time. All the information's available. But more than ever in my life, man, just the thrill of being able to watch the beauty of the World Cup and how far-reaching it is, so much further than the actual sport and the beautiful game itself. The way it brings people together, especially in the state of the world that we're in here right now and that sort of thing. It's just, this is absolute heaven, Huss.
Oh, man, I agree with you. I have been I mean, listen, I was lucky enough to go to it in 22, and that was just a life-changing, to be there. And even if it was in Qatar, which is a weird place, different culture, a lot of fans didn't go to the Middle East. I think having it here in North America is, 10 times the visiting fans that are coming in for it. It was amazing. But now, and here's the thing, not only do we have a piece of hosting the event, but we got a squad, Westy. And I mean, this built up to 22, and I'm so happy we were able to qualify legitimately in a 32-team World Cup on top of our group, in CONCACAF, showing that we belong there, because it would have been a little underwhelming if the only reason we ended our long drought was because we were hosting. But beyond that, I mean, ups and downs, some real injury issues with the club coming in, and yet here we are, going into Saturday against the Moroccans, who we lost 2-1 to in Qatar. Maintain that was the most intimidating experience I have ever had as a fan, and there's nothing even close. But we're still standing right now, Westy. Going to be big underdogs against the Moroccans, but what a moment we have coming up on Saturday for the Canadian men's soccer program, coming off a victory and a goal by Eustáquio that I think will be remembered for decades.
I could shed tears of joy and get very emotional talking about this, Huss. And I don't know, in today's world, and my son's generation, around that 18-year-old age, he always had the great success of the women's team. Alphonso Davies scored a World Cup goal, so that but to actually win a World Cup game, when that happened not too long ago here, just a couple of weeks ago, I was like, I can go, when I die, I'm going to have a smirk or a grin on my face because the men's program, won a game in the World Cup. And then they go on a challenge for the group, which was just remarkable. And then they win a knockout game. I was like, oh my God. And trying to see some folks that don't follow the game or don't have a whole bunch of passion for the beautiful game, try and describe the impact of it, I find interesting and that sort of thing. But the monumental accomplishment here, and with folks talking about how, okay, well, this is going to be the epic moment that causes this wildfire of great interest across the nation. We're already well into that. I think it's been like that for decades here, where there's just a continual growth in North America of, I'm going to call it football, taking a further effect in the hearts and souls of people. We see the great success with the MLS and the CPL across Canada for the most part, and still one of the very most participated in sports for kids. I think we're firmly entrenched into acceptance of the beautiful game and held in high regard and all this sort of stuff. But what's happening right now in the days that unfold before our eyes, Huss, is just as magical as you get. It's just so beautiful, man.
We do have our hands full with Morocco, who, I had Rob Gale on yesterday, and he talked about how Morocco has really become, and of course they are co-host of the next World Cup along with Portugal and Spain, how for African and particularly North African nations have just set the bar with their training facilities and what they put into the game. And it's showing now. They're a top 10 team in the world. They beat the Netherlands in an absolute thriller on Monday. I mean, a victory for Canada would be, I don't want to say hard to imagine, because we do see wild upsets. Germany lost in penalties to Paraguay. But we're moving up a couple weight classes. Switzerland's a very strong team. Obviously, we were in that game. But this is a huge challenge. But the fact that we're in the round of 16, huge wins already for Canada. But, I mean, listen, if we can hang with the Moroccans and be there in the second half, there are incredible stories every single World Cup of teams that no one expected. And I will say, more often host teams. Now, again, I don't know how much we're going to feel like a host. I know the way the Moroccans travel. This game is in Houston. It's not in Vancouver. It's not in Toronto. But what an incredible opportunity for Jesse Marsh and his squad. Do you think Jesse's going to go jeans and a Q-zip as well, again for this game? Or will he go back to the suit that he wore for the group stage?
The Gaffer's apparel that would have been a good one for Rob Gale, possibly, Huss. I'm not quite sure what he's going to adorn for this, but you're not joking when you talk about stepping up into the heavyweights. And hey, just like what you touched on too, Huss, any of us who watch the game closely know damn well anybody at any point in time. And you know what, man, it applies. It's the same sort of thing in hockey, right? If you just rely heavy on a trap, don't send anyone into the offensive zone, maybe one guy to start up, but you're just overly defensive in these sort of things. And I get a kick out of listening to folks talk to Jesse Marson, try to say, are your tactics going to change? Yeah, your tactics are going to change. I don't know how much forward foot the team's going to be. They probably want to stay fairly compact, I would imagine. But we've seen it, man. If you just get the further into the match, if they can go in at halftime and it's 0-0, right? Then start getting excited about that a little bit. And I get a little bit of a kick. It has bugged me throughout the tournament here, where a team like Morocco that should be able to come in and sort of impose their will on Canada. I find it really interesting how big favorites manage the one finite thing that is so precious in these games, and time. How forward foot will Morocco be, who's typically a very strong defensive fortress? Will they, knowing or feeling that they're a superior team, will they really take it to Canada? I wonder, or will they be a little bit more reserved? I've seen a couple of the games here, Huss, where a big favorite will be lackadaisical, lazy, moving the ball sideways, backwards, all these sorts of things. Who's a favorite and just not, and all of a sudden, they're at the hydration break or the first half comes to an end and it's a draw. The game is tied. And then all of a sudden, okay, well, now we only have 45 minutes to score. And then as each of those 5 minutes goes by, there's panic and pressure starts to roll in and that sort of thing. So how both of these squads ultimately manage the gravity of the situation, very much so looking forward.
Well, and listen, I'll say this, it ain't over till it's over either. If you saw the Belgium-Senegal game yesterday, I mean, 85th minute, it's 2-0. That was over. And I was watching the game with one of my buddies. He went to the bathroom. He came out and they were celebrating.
Yeah.
He was like, oh, wow, they got one. And he looked up and it was 2-2. He's like, what the hell's going on? That was just crazy. Hey, just before we move on off of Canada, because I want to ask you about this one tonight and a couple others. But take us to the moment, the Troy Westwood reaction when Estacio scored on Sunday to give us that goal in a very, very tight game in the round of 32.
There was some jumping and there was some screaming. It was just mayhem, euphoric. And what I love, I've been invited to a couple of get-togethers and took a call from a dear friend who's well plugged into the city and wanted to have arrange a watch party like we're seeing in some of the other cities. I'm like, dude, I'm at home with my family and my dogs, and I don't want to be bothered. I'm at home this is as sacred as you get watching this. So watching that goal, and a goal that even affected me more was the Saliba pass to Promise. And you know what? I'm on the FIFA side. How is that not up for goal of the tournament to me? They don't even have it in their top 12 goals, for the love of goodness. But that goal, just the touch of Saliba in accepting that ball, it made me jump and scream. And then for him to knock it over and for Promise to reach out the way, oh my God, that was one of the greatest goals I've ever seen.
It was. If only we hadn't had that 8-minute let up. I mean, who knows how we might be playing tonight. But it will be Switzerland versus Algeria tonight. I respect you with the family locked in at home. I will tell you, though, if you've just sort of been getting into it and you want to really feel what the World Cup is about, go to BP, go to the King's Head, go somewhere and be around the people, because there is a collective spirit of, well, for our team right now, I mean, you'll see it with other nationalities with their teams. And it's impossible not to get sucked up into it if you're in and around it. So speaking of getting sucked up into it, it was funny we mentioned Estacio's goal. Current Portuguese players wearing number 7 to score goals in the knockout round of the World Cup. Estacio is the only guy. It hasn't been Ronaldo, but he's getting a chance tonight. This is the final game in Toronto. Round of 32. Portugal versus Croatia, Westy. And, you know, having been to Toronto and seen the excitement around it for Canada's game, but knowing like what a city and how big the Portuguese population is, huge Croatian community. This game tonight, 6 o'clock start our time, I think is going to be an atmosphere that will be very different from the Canada-Bosnia, where it was a nervous Canadian crowd troping. It's all on the line for two nations that have had great success, high expectations. I am so excited just for what we see around the stadium and before kickoff. And then we've got a team, like a lot of people feel like Croatia. I mean, listen, they got to the Final Four last year. They were in our group. They were amazing. And the expectations for Portugal are always high just because of the star power of Ronaldo. What are your thoughts on this one? And you think this will be another real tight one? Might we be getting some more extra time?
I do think it's going to be tight. And I do think Croatia walks away ultimately with the victory. We're talking Croatia, Huss, a team, a very small country that has been to the Final Four the last two World Cups. And you're talking about, you got Ronaldo with Portugal and not a whole pile of interconnective history there with success at the World Cup as you have here with Croatia. And it's kind of the swan song for this group, right? Led by Modric and that sort of thing. So the team element and how gelled Croatia is and how they're playing, I think Portugal is a disaster right now with the situation specifically with Ronaldo. And I know that they were able to have that 5-0 win against Uzbekistan, if I'm saying that correctly, the country, and Ronaldo had a couple of goals there. But I watched that first game that they played, and the midfielders, Portugal's mids, which is quite possibly the most highly regarded group in the tournament with Felix Fernandez and Neto, they ignored him. Like, he would position himself with a passing lane and an alley where any other nine up there making the moves that he was making on the back line, and the midfield, we would feed that and let him run onto the ball and go create some havoc and create danger situations. They ignored him the entirety of the game, and I know there might have been a little thing that brought guys together a little bit after that because there was so much criticism early in the tournament here. But the one thing I think that we're seeing outside of what happened in that game against an inferior opponent is that Ronaldo, one of the greatest ever, but he's 41 years old and he is not a dangerous threat to a sound back line and defensive team. And you're going to get that in Croatia. So how creative can that midfield be for Portugal? How many dangerous chances can they create with a nine who a lot of people are saying that guy's time is way behind him, not a little bit, but way behind him. And Ronaldo has never scored, just a fun fact, he's never scored in a knockout game in the World Cup, if you can believe it. And you've got this Croatia team who has been together, this core there, and just incredible success that they've had over the last couple of World Cups previous to this. I think and I don't even think it goes in that extra. I think Croatia wins this outright in regulation.
I cannot believe Ronaldo's 41. You said that, and I'm like, what? Like, I knew he was on the other side of 35, but that's wild. But he is the biggest star outside of Messi, but I'm not sure whether he still has it right now. And I'm sort of with you. I think I will have a little piece of Croatia tonight. Although I think I'm going to play draw on the 20 minute. Now, Westy, before we go, who do you have a favorite right now? I mean, is it France?
They are breathtaking. And coming into the tournament, I had France as, and I'm not a fan of France. I don't have any connection, nothing like that. But I just thought, France, even like their subs, who comes in on the pitch late in the game, it's just like this buffet of outrageous talent. And watching them play right now, Huss, it's akin to any of the great Brazilian teams of the past, the fluidity when they're moving the ball around and the way that each of the men are moving off the ball and just running into space. And you talk about like a complete selflessness I'm witnessing and watching that team. And I giggled a little bit because the last time they played, Mbappe had a goal, no question about it. But he slides it across. I can't recall who he slid it across to, but it was an opportunity for a goal. And I giggled thinking, boy, you would never see a Ronaldo, as an example, do something like that. Because there's a lot of people questioning Mbappe's mentality and, are they going to have some personality problems because of the level of star power that they got? But they have just been this remarkable watching like what they're unleashing, and they seem to be getting better almost and catching even more traction, and listening to a number of the former players that we see on the broadcast, just in awe of how beautiful they look with and around the ball. They have got to be. They were the favorite coming in here with Spain. Spain hasn't looked all that smooth. They're playing right now. Mexico is this sort of team that's like, holy cow, what's going to happen with England at Azteca and stuff like that. You have other teams that maybe just aren't playing at the level right now that we're seeing with France. So they were a favorite coming into the tournament. They've only further entrenched themselves as the favorite at this point.
Yeah, and we've certainly just looking at Coolbet, the odds now plus 190 on France. So they are the clear favorite right now as things have sort of shaken out. Just on the way out, you mentioned that England-Mexico game.
Oh,
dude, there's going to be 90,000 people there. I will make a hot take here that what the English are going to be going up against on Sunday night will be one of the greatest home field advantages in the history of team sport. They've looked great, and obviously Harry Kane saved the day yesterday against the Congo. But man, the Mexicans, I mean, there's all sorts of stories. I mean, you talk to anyone that's been in CONCACAF, they are less than hospitable the night before the game, during the match. So that's one. And I always listen to Bomber games with sound. I might have to flip over the audio to the scenes and sounds from Azteca on Sunday night when the Bombers are playing the Ticats. It's going to be a hell of an end to the weekend.
The last time England was there, Huss, that last time they were there for a match, it was the hand of God. They were up against Argentina and the hand of God. And I giggled this morning because the gaffer had a quote this morning from England saying that they don't have enough time to acclimatize to the altitude, which made me giggle. Of course you don't. Right, so coming into this fortress of Azteca, and the fact that Mexico's only lost twice there in the history of the stadium, I mean, it goes way back, maybe back to like the 30s, I think. They've only ever lost twice there. So holy cow. And since I was born, since you and I were born, all England has done is disappointed its fans. Right? It's just just never climbing the mountain to the level, and they've almost pissed it away already a couple of times in this World Cup here. They pull one out of the fire with King Kane, of course, but holy cow, are they walking into almost a mystical situation there as Azteca? I'm so geeked for that game, Huss. Holy cow.
Yeah, the weekend is going to be great. Tonight we got a late one, Swiss, Algeria, and then tomorrow the Socceroos, Aussie against Egypt. Argentina should roll over Cape Verde. Colombia, Ghana will be a good one. And then Saturday, first up, Canada, Morocco from Houston, noon. Make your plans accordingly. Westy, this is a lot of fun. Let's do this again soon. Enjoy Portugal, Croatia tonight. It should be awesome.
Take care, brother. Always great seeing you.
All right, there's our buddy Troy Westwood. I will go back to the Jets, and I know it's been dominating the chat right now, but give me, why not question of the day for not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray? Give me a letter grade, A, B, C, D, E, on what the Jets did yesterday from your perspective with the Skinner and Ferraro signings. Let us know in the chat. A big shout out to our friends at Aikens Lake, who continue to have just an amazing year, which is so great after losing so much time last year due to the forest fires. The big fish keep coming out. The great times continue to be had. If you're thinking about a world-class fly-in fishing experience where you can be on the water in less than 2 hours from the city of Winnipeg, Aikens is the spot. And as incredible as the world-class fishing is, the hospitality might be even better from the Aikens team and the Turenne family. Check out aikenslake.com for more information on the remainder of the 26th season and booking ahead into 2027 now at aikenslake.com. Our friends at Breezy are ready for Saturday afternoon. The PGA Scramble qualifiers going out at Breezy on Saturday afternoon. That's a great event where you can win a trip to Cabot Links for the national final. Coolbet actually has a amazing promo for a second chance one. We'll get to that with Jake in just a minute. But if you're thinking about a great long-term golfing home for you and your family, check out Breezy Bend at breezybend.ca or give a call, 895-7205. Holler at our pal Corey Johnson over there. He'll fill you all in. All right, Jake's going to join us in just a minute. I want to talk more about these World Cup games tonight, as well as the CFL slate. Don't forget to get your picks in. First up, though, let's give a big cheers to our friends at Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right, CFL Week 5 gets going tonight. If you haven't already, here's your final reminder. Get your picks in on the free Coolbet weekly CFL Pick'em. If you haven't done it so far, and you're just, as long as you have an account at Coolbet, doesn't cost anything, go to Coolbet Leagues. It's also under the promotions tab right now if you need to find it. $50 every week, and the grand prize at the end of the season, trip for two to the Grey Cup in Calgary. But you got to get your picks in. So if you haven't already, I'm locked in. Hopefully I'll do better than I did last week, but my picks are in. You should do it as well. Let's bring in Jake Bolin Moss from Coolbet coming up. How was your Canada Day, buddy? Welcome back.
Yeah, I ended up working yesterday. I'm going to take tomorrow. I think I was telling you offline. I'm going to golf with my grandfather tomorrow, so I'm pretty excited for that. Patty's going to hold down the fort here. He had the day yesterday while I held it down. So, yeah, good little system we got in place. But, yeah, overall pretty good. I mean, weather was unbelievable. At one point, not to get off on a tangent here early on in the show, but at one point there was like a tropical storm here. It was coming down. It was raining sideways. It was windy. And that lasted about 30 minutes. Thought I was going to lose power, but ended up being fine. And, yeah, overall it was a nice day.
Yeah, weather has been quite the issue across the coast. We had a legit tornado in Winnipeg 2 nights ago that ripped the roof off a house and a garage. It's a little bit better right now, but we'll handle it. As long as roofs aren't being ripped off. I think that's a bonus for us right now. I just mentioned obviously the promo we've got with the weekly Pick'em contest, but as we gear up and the qualifiers for the PGA Scramble get going, it's a great time to remind people that if you haven't already and you're playing at Coolbet, get over to the promotions page and make sure you click on that golf trip of a lifetime. It's actually right beside the WST, winner 113th Grey Cup experience. This is just a simple opt-in, Jake, and every time you make a $25 bet or bet $25, you'll get a ballot. If you bet on things like the CFL, you get 3 times the ballots. If you bet golf, it's 5 times. But the bottom line is that through all of these ballots, someone will be selected at the end of the summer, and they and 3 buddies, a full foursome, heading out to the 2 nicest courses arguably in the province, maybe on the country, the continent, for what really is the golf trip of a lifetime. And I know you had boots on the ground there last year.
Yeah, it's an incredible place, man. If you haven't been out to Cabot, if you get the opportunity, you should absolutely go. And this is a great opportunity, that we ran. We ran last year as well. And the thing is, you really just have to opt in once, and then you're just betting as you do usually. You're betting on whatever you like to bet on. CFL, World Cup even. I think World Cup's got 3 times multipliers for soccer. So yeah, like just make sure you go to the campaign page there. It's the, Coolbet's Cabot Experience. You click the opt-in button, and then just a reminder to folks, after you click the opt-in button, you also have to submit that bonus code. It's Cabot26. You submit the code, and then you're signed up. The rest of the summer, betting in all of July, all of August, trying to get your name on that leaderboard, trying to climb that leaderboard and get a chance to be part of the ballot raffle to go to Cabot with a group of 4. It's an incredible time and something you definitely should get involved with. It doesn't, if you're going to be betting with us anyways, you might as well have a piece of this Cabot campaign.
Yeah, so find it in the promotions, click opt-in, it'll take you to the thing, and then just put submit. Once you've got the bonus code, it'll come up green, you're good, and then don't worry about it, and hopefully you'll get a call that you're going to Cabot. One other thing I should mention while we're talking about amazing promos we're doing with Coolbet, we are sending somebody to the Coolbet Open in Estonia at the beginning of September. From all accounts, this is the trip of the year. You'll be in the main event. There's a bunch of other cool events in and around it. You'll get a chance. You're probably out for some dinners with the Coolbet guys as well. Our next qualifier is Tuesday. Tuesday, 8 p.m., Coolbet Poker, search WST. That is the next event, and we'll qualify a couple more people for the final in early August. And whoever is the last man standing that day is going to get an incredible trip. The other qualifiers, July 8th, that's next Tuesday. Wednesday, July 21st. I think I'm mixing it up. Wednesday, July 8th. Tuesday, July 21st. Last chance qualifier, Wednesday, August 5th. And then I think it's the 11th or 12th is the final. And that's the day we'll figure out who is going to Estonia to represent Canada at the Coolbet Open, one of the top European poker events of the year. Jake, we got CFL tonight.
Sorry, Huss. Sorry to cut you off. That next tournament is up right now. So it's a week. I think yesterday was Wednesday. So yeah, on the 8th, it is available right now. If you want to sign up, maybe you should make sure you get early admission into that. You'll have a chance to qualify. I know we had a bit of I think some miscommunication, some technical error on the first one. So I think a few extra people got in. It will be the top 2 in this next one that will get in. We're going to manually add them this time around instead of whatever happened last time. No big deal, though.
Perfect.
More
it was
good. We'll send someone to.
I know there was a few guys that weren't sure if they got it, but they did. Essentially we had so many people enter for the event. It added a couple more tickets on. So I know Jeff Lomas was in there. But anyways, congrats to everyone got in there. We'll be playing for 2 spots coming up on Tuesday, on Wednesday of next week. Hey, I know you're a little bit outside the city, but I imagine even where you are, if you're anywhere around Toronto, you're feeling the World Cup excitement. And this one tonight, Portugal, Croatia, the final match at Toronto Stadium, is going to be a scene for the city, for the country, I think, and for international soccer. Portugal, a -141 favorite. Croatia, +491, and a draw +275. We were just talking about Westy. I got to say, Jake, it seems like the star power of Ronaldo cooks these lines that there's real value on whoever is playing Portugal, because are they a good team? Yeah, but you're playing a lot of other good teams, and the odds -141 to win in regulation seems insane against a squad like Croatia, for a Portuguese team that blew out Uzbekistan but has been tight in the rest of their games.
Yeah, frankly, the fact of the matter is, Portugal hasn't looked that impressive in this tournament. Didn't even end up winning their group. Obviously, that was a bit of a disappointment. So they're ended up in this Croatian match in Toronto. And yeah, it's right now it is tough to bet anything on Portugal. But I'll tell you right now, Huss, my girlfriend's half Portuguese, so you won't find me taking Croatia today. I know better than that. So I'll be watching with her. I'll be rooting on Portugal, but given their history, Huss, Ronaldo in these knockout games, it hasn't gone well for Portugal and Ronaldo. So I am a little concerned. I think the line is a bit inflated, like you mentioned, from what it should be. I think this should be closer to a pick 'em, maybe slight edge to Portugal. They are quite a big favorite. If you look at, the odds to qualify and the odds just to win in the three-way 90 minutes, like, I don't know. I'm quite surprised by what we're seeing there. I know Croatia, they're aged another 4 years from when we saw them in Qatar, Huss. But listen, it's a stellar squad. I think I'm not sure the guy's name who was on before me, but he was talking about, they play more as a team. You watch Portugal play, they do kind of give more to Ronaldo. Like, if you watch the way they play, and they're not assertive. They're very, kind of sit back, wait for their moment. Colombia was bringing the heat in their last game. I think Portugal's got to bring the attack to Croatia, or they're going to be in trouble tonight.
If you're looking for a little two-gamer for the night games, folks, if you want to ride with me, I got Portugal, Croatia, regulation draw. So I'm thinking we'll get extra time, which I'm here for. And Switzerland on the home draw away. I got Switzerland tonight. If you do that right now, plus 275 on the draw, basically even money on the Swiss. It's plus 646. That late game, as I mentioned, Swiss minus 101. Draw versus is plus 230. Algeria plus 365. And just to put into perspective about what a big favorite Croatia or the Portuguese are tonight in this matchup, Portugal is a bigger favorite in this game than Morocco is against Canada. Canada right now plus 445, Morocco minus 125, and the draw is plus 255. Full slate of games tomorrow. Argentina, massive favorite against Cape Verde. We've also got Colombia, Ghana tomorrow night, which should be a really good one. Colombia is a pretty big favorite in that one, minus 192. Ghana 7-1. And my niece and nephew and my sister are all here from Australia. They are ready to go for tomorrow. Socceroos plus 250 against Egypt. Egypt plus 153. That should be a good one as well. Should get to the CFL because it gets going tonight. Your Argos looking pretty good. Chad Kelly is back big time. They go for 40 points every game. How about this? What's been the internal talk amongst the guys about the totals in the CFL this year? Overs are 12-2, and for the first time, Jake, the total for tonight is 61.5. I think that's a record. Scoring has gone crazy in the CFL with the new rules, and I'm here for it. But they can't make these lines high enough, it seems.
Yeah, Huss. I mean, listen, it's like college football. And listen, college football can get really, really fun a lot of the times. High scoring, back and forth play. I think that's what you're getting with the CFL. And, anyone who says the CFL is boring to watch doesn't watch CFL, because this is an absolutely electric version of football. And you're seeing it in these totals, like you mentioned, 12-2 on the season to the over. And a huge number tonight on this Argos game. So, yeah, I mean, listen, I don't know how you're not betting overs right now. Until the odds makers adjust, you're in a great spot. If you've been betting overs all season long, you've been profiting big time. And all I know is I wish I could be betting overs in our CFL predictions pool, because I absolutely stink at predicting games. 5 points last week to follow up my 0 from week 3.
Hey, it's a long season. You can still be in there. Win a week and get right back into it. You got to nail one. Now, if you haven't seen this week's edition of CFL 110, it was a first. Hammer and I usually are pretty much in lockstep, and it's been easy making our CFL 110 parlay. This week, we went head-to-head, and we're on opposite sides of every game, which brings us to the exclusives. If you go over to the exclusives under Winnipeg Sports Talk, there's 2 parlays. There's a ride with Huss and a ride with Hammer. Hammer is taking Ottawa plus 5.5 against the Riders. He's taking the Elks minus 1.5 against BC, and the Ticats minus 3.5 against the Bombers. That one's plus 725. The ride with Huss, I'm taking the Argos tonight plus 1.5. I'm taking the Riders tomorrow at minus 4.5. And I'm having faith for another week in the Bombers that they can get it together in Hamilton, keep it close, or hopefully win that game. Bombers plus 3.5. That is plus 625. So they're both boosted up. but you got to find them in the exclusives, not the combo cards this week. And as we mentioned tonight, it is the Argos, a very slight favorite in Calgary. The money line, Stamps minus 125, Argos plus 102. We got the Riders minus 263, laying 5 in Ottawa. Ottawa plus 210. Fascinating game in Kelowna. 3-0 Elks, 0-3 Lions. The Elks are now a slight favorite, minus 1.5, minus 122 on the money line. BC's even money. And that Bomber game has not moved. 3.5 is the number. Bombers getting 3.5 points, plus 162 on the money line. Ticats minus 200. And I have just noticed, Jake, before we go, my favorite day of the year, the 4th of July. We've got Nathan's hot dog eating.
Have to talk it, us. We got to talk it.
Awards. I'm just seeing, okay, so Joey Chestnut is minus 2,500, obviously. He will win. But it's like, the golf odds where Scotty was doing so well, you had to get odds without Scotty Scheffler. We do have the men's competition winner without Joey Chestnut. The favorite is Patrick Deep Dish Bertholetti at minus 375. James Webb, 5-1. Jeffrey Esper, who has been in at least 10 of these before, he's 6-1. Nick Wary, 15-1. Couple other guys I know. Gideon Ogi's 100-1. He's been in there a few times before. But yes, if you do like to jump on odds for the hot dog eating contest, it's out. The total for Chestnut, the over/under, 70.5 dogs. Overs minus 135, unders plus 102. I will check to see what the eating conditions are going to be like with the weather and whatnot. I'll make an official pick tomorrow on the program heading into Saturdays. And I'm going to need to do this in advance because I'm going to be so locked in on the soccer game. Probably won't be there. Although the good thing is I think that'll be at 11 a.m. our time. So we'll go right from watching greatness of Joey Chestnut into the greatness of the World Cup, Canada and Morocco. Jake, great stuff. We got lots going on right now between the poker, between the golf qualifiers and the golf contest right now, the CFL Pick'em. It's all happening over at Coolbet. If you haven't played there before, sign up. Use the promo code WST on your first deposit. We'll double it up to $200, and keep your eyes on the promotion page for more of what we're cooking up with Jake, Pat, and the Coolbet team. Enjoy the games tonight. I guess for your sake, I'll hope that things go well for the Portuguese, because it could be a rough weekend for you otherwise.
It's got to be Portugal, man. We got to have it tonight. They got to have it tonight, us, because at least just to extend the happiness for another week, that's kind of where we're at. So it's like with Canada, that big win on Sunday, this extends our happiness right into Saturday, and then maybe we shock the world. We beat Morocco. We get to the final 8. So I'm hoping that's the case for Canada tonight. We're worried about Portugal.
Dude, have a great one. Thanks again, as always.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys. We'll talk soon.
Jake, Bolin, Moss, fun time hitting the lines today over at Coolbet. Remo, have your kids, have you been watching any of the soccer with the little ones now that they're young soccer players themselves?
He put on the Canada game. He was interested for a bit, but still really into hockey. Actually, in this household, I was dialed into the Canada game, but I'll be watching on Saturday, I think, as it goes on. We'll have to see, but not as much as I thought. Still, I don't know. They're asking about hockey. They're like, when can we watch hockey again? Because we were staying up late watching the Cup final, really late for them. And I keep getting questions about hockey. So soccer, it's coming. My kids do play soccer, and I think they're excited about it, but hasn't been on. I've been turning it on at night. It's enjoyable to watch the games. I think the broadcasts are amazing quality, and TSN's doing a great job as well with their breathtaking views from the panel in Vancouver.
Oh, listen, I don't think that I've ever seen an event that has been better produced than this year's World Cup. And, again, I was watching it more. When we were in Qatar, I guess we had the BBC feed, and it was really good. But I think TSN's done such an amazing job. The announcers for all these games are incredible. And listen, Saturday is going to be a special day, win or lose for Canadian soccer. But just to even contemplate winning that game and what that would mean for us over the course of the next week on this show, and really from coast to coast, is something else. We got a chip in a chair. We'll see what happens. But tonight it'll be a real fun game. Yesterday's action was incredible, and it's not stopping anytime soon. 2 more matches tonight in the round of 32 in the World Cup. Remo, we've had quite a bit going on this week, and then with the day off yesterday, obviously, shout out to Connor and Liz. Busy day for Connor because he and Schnitzy also fired up the Blue Bomber Report. If you haven't checked that out, check that out on the channel as well, and a bit of a stream for everything. Has there been any other signings today while we've been doing the show?
Yes, Jakub Dobeš just signed a 3-year contract extension with Montreal. They tied up Demidov. 8 years? I have it written down here.
9.15, I think.
Yeah, that's a really nice contract for him. And Jakub Dobeš just signed a 3-year extension with an AAV of 5.35. So pretty manageable cap at Montreal, looking to extend their Stanley Cup contending window. We did have the Ovechkin contract today. There was some speculation if he was done or not for his career, but Washington's forwards, man, they look pretty good, signing Alex Tuck, trading for Jordan Kyrou. Boone Jenner was another free agent ad. So watch out for Washington this year. And we had the trade today with Jacob Middleton going to Calgary from Minnesota. And Minnesota getting Blake Coleman and Oli Mata. So Blake Coleman going to be a pain to go up against there.
Yeah, he'll fit in perfectly with the Wild, that's for sure. Mm-hmm. Oh, we didn't mention Vincent Trocheck.
Well, Utah, man, they're coming up. First of all, we did have after saying, is there going to be an offer sheet? Is there going to be an offer sheet? With New Jersey signing Barrett Hayton to the 1-year offer sheet that walks him to UFA, and you can't trade a guy after he signs that. And they would have to, they'd only get a second-round pick in compensation. So a tidy move there by New Jersey. We'll see if Utah matches or if New Jersey has to send the second-round pick. And then Utah got Vincent Trocheck in the trade for Sean Durzi. They I don't know if they had enough room for Durzi once they traded for Mackenzie Weegar, signed Nate Schmidt. Simashev was a high pick who's coming in. So they got to make room for him and Tej Aginla. And they also signed, Anders Lee was the other signing for Utah. So a new look Utah, and of course us, brought back Stanley Cup champion, former Winnipeg Jet Kevin Stenlund, signed his contract. Yes.
I like to see Stenny get another deal. Only 1 year, but he's done very well for himself since the Jets in Florida winning the Cup, and now back with Utah. Keegan Colasar traded from Vegas to Detroit for a third rounder, and Nick Paul traded to the Leafs today, which is the sort of a guy that I think the Leafs could probably use a little bit more of. And then, to me, the trade that happened late yesterday that I'm still surprised. And listen, Stan Bowman deserves a lot of heat for a lot of the terrible moves that he's made. I was blown away that they were able to get Darnell Nurse's 9.5 off the books without retaining any salary. And they got Mukmadulin from San Jose, who I think is a good, talented young player that can play a bit. I don't know anything about Zach Sharp, but Shakir Mukmadulin is a player. He's an RFA, so they'll need to get a deal done with him. And for San Jose, they've got tons of cap room. I guess I understand why they can do it. They're definitely better right now. But, man, all of a sudden they've got it 16, 17 million bucks tied up in Jacob Trouba and Darnell Nurse for the next 4 years. That being said, they didn't have any defensemen beforehand, so they rebuilt that up as well. Jacob Trouba, of course, getting 8.25 for the next 4 years. And we should give congratulations to former Jet Luke Schenn. He is not done. There was a taker. Blown away that he ended up getting $2.25 million from Van on a 1-year deal. But I guess good for Luke for finding a landing spot.
Yeah, if you're wondering about the last year's Jets, Luke Schenn, one of them, signing with Vancouver, played there before, and it's kind of funny. Vancouver seems to like the Jets defensemen, Tyler Myers, Tucker Poolman, and now Luke Schenn, although he was a Canuck first. So congrats to him on the new deal with the Canucks. So Luke Schenn, one more season. Wonder if he gets traded at the deadline again on a 1-year deal. But judging by the way it went with Buffalo, I'm not sure. But maybe a team would want some leadership. Vancouver made another trade yesterday with the Rangers that I thought was pretty interesting as well, sending Marcus Paterson, defenseman, who they traded for the first-round pick. I think it was the one from the JT Miller trade. That was a couple of years ago. They got Marcus Paterson and signed him to an extension. Well, they shipped him off to the New York Rangers for a first-round pick. But this first-round pick, conditional 2030 first-round pick from the Rangers. Like, I don't know. You want to be trading away first-round picks that far in advance for Marcus Paterson? I think his contract's up in 2030. That was an interesting deal, I thought.
That is a little bit of a wild one.
What are the Rangers doing? Are they rebuilding? Are they trying to win? I'm very confused by their strategy.
I'm surprised they traded Trocheck for what he ended up getting.
They got Dursey.
That's not really. I think Vincent Trocheck's an awesome second line center. As they say, I do like that move. And how about Tyson Forrester?
That was a big deal.
$58.8 million on an 8-year deal. Demidov signed. And what was the Byram? He got 12?
Yeah, Byram, he's the highest paid defenseman right now in the NHL. Bolin Byram, and they paid the big price and 4th overall to get him. And he wanted to get paid like a number one defenseman, and they certainly did that, even though he's never really been that. So I don't know. So we'll see if he's worth it.
What was the term on that one?
I think it was 8 years, 12. Let me just.
No, was it 8 or was it 4?
Sorry. 6 years, 12.5. And he's only
okay.
And he's 25 years old, so he'll be 31 when this is done. Can probably cash in on another big deal. So good for Bo and Byram getting paid. The highest paid D in the NHL right now, but that could change. Quinn Hughes needs a new deal after the season. So does Cale Makar. Just setting the bar pretty high there.
Just finishing up the other former Jets. Of course, we bid adieu to Eric Comrie. We'll miss him. We'll miss chatting with him. Such an absolute beauty of a dude. But he gets 2 years, 1.15 AAV to play in San Jose. Jack Roslovic's in Toronto. Trouba's in San Jose. Bogosian will not be available for the alumni game, I guess, because he's still in the NHL. He has a 1-year deal, 1.25 with the Minnesota. LB, 1 year, 1.1 with Anaheim. Dylan Anhorn got a deal with Chicago. Jacob Bryson, who came over in the Stan trade at the end of the year, he's got a league min deal with the Red Wings. And then, a couple former Moose that really cashed in. Jeffrey VL, 5 years, $12.5 million total. Stanny got his 2.75 for 1 year. And our old buddy Jeff Malott, great to see Malott cash in. 3 years, 1.85 a year for a total of 5.55. And Ville Heinola, destined to wear the silver of the Henderson Silver Knights with a 1-year deal with VGK. It'll be interesting to see if he cracks or at least sticks around the lineup. Looking at that team and that blue line and the way they play, I have a feeling he's more of a depth spot and maybe an AHL guy, but I guess we will see. We'll have much more on NHL free agency tomorrow on the program. We will also get ready for the Blue Bombers and Ticats. Marshall Ferguson's going to join us. Wiebe will pop on the program for the latest on the Jets in the offseason. We'll get Ben Kramer's thoughts on the upcoming remaining games in the CFL. And we'll check in with Hacksaw. Should be a good one tomorrow. Thanks to Murat. Thanks to Jeff Hamilton. Great to have Westy back on the program today. And thanks to all of you for making the time to join us here on WST today. Thanks to all of our sponsors. And again, your final reminder, if you haven't already, got your picks in for the CFL Weekly Pick'em over at Coolbet. Get that done before kickoff tonight in Calgary between the Argos and the Stampeders. That's going to do it for us today on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Have a great one. We will see you tomorrow, 1 p.m., with a big Friday show here on WST.
Oh, my God. Oh! Shut it down. Let's go home.
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.